We've always been taught that wealth is all about money, right? The cash in the bank. But what if that's just not the full picture anymore? In this explainer, we're going to dig into some fascinating new research that totally flips that idea on its head. It turns out there are 5 new assets that truly define prosperity today, and get this, most of them have absolutely nothing to do with your bank account.
Okay, so let's jump right in with a huge problem. I mean, this is something that affects almost everyone. For generations, what was the goal? Build up a fortune, right? And then pass it on to your kids. Simple. Well, it turns out that whole model is completely broken.
70%. Just let that number sink in for a second. 70%. This one number, it points to this massive, kind of hidden failure in how we've all been taught to think about wealth. So what's it all about? What does this number actually mean?
Well, according to Hartford Funds, a staggering 70% of families lose their entire fortune by the very next generation. And it gets worse. By the 3rd generation, 90% of it is just gone. Poof. That proves that simply handing down a pile of cash isn't just ineffective, it's a total losing game. The money vanishes because something absolutely crucial is missing from the equation.
Okay, so if the old playbook is out the window, what's replaced it? If just passing down money doesn't work, what does? What are the real assets that actually create lasting prosperity in the world we live in today? To figure that out, we have to zoom out a bit and look beyond just dollars and cents. Some really interesting research has actually pinpointed 5 new foundational assets. These are the things that are the true cornerstones of wealth in the 21st century.
All right, so here they are. First up, you've got human capital, basically your skills and your education. Then there's social capital, which is all about your network, the people you know. Next is intellectual capital, what you know, your ideas. Then institutional capital, that's your access to big systems like banking or legal help. And finally, the big one, the real game changer, digital capital. This is all about your online presence and your ability to navigate this modern connected world.
But this is where it gets really, really interesting. When the researchers crunched the numbers to see which of these assets was the best predictor of wealth, the results were kind of mind-blowing. Look at this. Digital capital. It's the single most powerful predictor. It's more important than what you know. It's even more important than your education. I mean, think about that. Your ability to operate in the digital world is now the #1 factor in building wealth. Wow.
And this isn't some flash in the pan either. The same study actually tracked these assets over 13 years. And what they found was that the value of digital capital just exploded. It skyrocketed by almost 300%. That kind of growth is literally reshaping our entire economy. And here's the kicker. Think back to 2020, when the global economy got completely shaken up. You know what happened? Every other one of these core assets took a hit. Human capital, social capital, they all went down. But digital capital? It was the only one that kept growing, right through the middle of the crisis. So it's not just about growth, it's about resilience.
So, look, the evidence is pretty clear, right? The rules of the game have totally changed. And that brings us to the most important question of all. It's great to know what these assets are, but how in the world do you actually build them? For you, for your family, how do you do it?
Let's start at home, with the family. If we know that just passing down money doesn't work, what should we be passing down? What's the thing that's actually going to prepare the next generation for this new world?
And this really gets to the heart of it. That whole 70% problem, it's not usually because of bad stock picks or dumb investments. It's a failure of preparation. So the real goal, it isn't to transfer wealth. It's to transfer the wisdom to create and manage wealth. That's the key.
Okay, so what does this wisdom actually look like? Well, we can break it down into 3 core types of intelligence. First, there's financial intelligence. That's the nuts and bolts, the how-to of money. Then you have emotional intelligence, which is all about understanding the why behind your decisions with money. And finally, family intelligence, which is about the who you are as a family, your values, your story.
Let's zoom in on emotional intelligence for a second, because this is the one most people miss. It all starts with a thought, right? A core belief you have about money. For example, maybe you live by the rule, if I can't pay cash for it, I shouldn't buy it.
Okay, so you have that thought, and that thought, it generates a feeling. So that belief about paying cash might create a really deep-seated fear of spending or this constant anxiety whenever you think about debt.
And then, of course, that feeling is what drives your behavior. That fear of spending might make you super frugal, maybe even to a fault, where you deny yourself things you need or buy cheap stuff that just breaks right away. Helping the next generation understand this whole thought-feeling behavior cycle. That's how you transfer real wisdom.
All right, so you've got the wisdom. But how do you turn that into consistent day-to-day action? Well, here's the secret. You have to stop relying on willpower. It's just not enough. You have to start building systems.
And this is such a critical difference. See, most people rely on motivation, which is just unreliable. They'll say, okay, I'm going to save more this month. But motivation comes and goes, right? Wealthy people, on the other hand, build systems, things that run on autopilot. Instead of trying to save, they set up an automatic transfer. The system does the work for you, even on days you don't feel like it.
And you can start building these systems right now. They're actually pretty simple. For example, set up an automatic transfer to save at least 10% of any money that comes in. Put a money date on your calendar once a month to review everything. Invest consistently, same time, same amount, instead of trying to time the market. And create a habit of reading something about business or finance every single day. These small, automated habits are the engines that build all those other forms of capital over time.
Okay, so we've covered the new assets, we've talked about transferring wisdom, and we've talked about building systems. But what's the glue that holds all of this together? What's the foundational skill you need? Well, that brings us to our last idea, the street smart advantage.
Because at the end of the day, the true foundation of wealth, it isn't some hot stock tip or a secret investing strategy. It's a set of core, practical, human skills, the kind of skills that let you navigate the real world with confidence. And what are they? Well, it boils down to things like awareness, just noticing what's happening around you, seeing the opportunities. Judgment, that gut feeling that tells you when something is off. Boundaries, having the strength to say no to bad deals or bad ideas. And finally, self-trust, having the confidence to actually act on your own good judgment.
And this is how it all comes full circle. These street-smart skills, they're the engine that drives everything else we've talked about. This is what helps you spot the opportunities to build that digital capital. It's what gives you the emotional intelligence to manage your money well. And it's what gives you the discipline to build those systems and actually stick with them.
So, in the end, it's clear that wealth today is so much more than just money. It's this powerful combination of new assets, timeless wisdom, and automated systems. And it's all built on a bedrock of real-world awareness and good judgment. So that really only leaves one question for you to think about. What's the first system you're going to build?